Hey there YouTube. So this is the first video of a new series of videos I'm going to be working on where I am going to show you guys how to do multiple algorithms in a variety of different languages. I'm actually going to be covering all of these algorithms in 6 different programming languages. We're going to be doing them in C, C++, C#, Java, JavaScript, and Python for the final one. So today's video is just kind of helping you to get set up with a template. These will be released every Friday for the foreseeable future. And basically today's video is just showing you how to use Visual Studio, the new free version for 2015 called the Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition, and how to set up all 6 of these programming languages in this one environment. So I'm going to show you how to go through and add even things like Java that are not normally supported into your Visual Studio solution. So this is going to go through some of the problems you might run into. It's also going to show just how to set them up and running a simple hello world from each language. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. If you haven't already installed Visual Studio, go ahead and do that. Again, make sure you have all the settings installed, all of the default options would be my recommendation, but I'm also a feature guy, that's just how I am. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Okay, so now here we are in the code. You'll notice on my window that you can see all of the Visual Studio stuff. I'm running Windows 10 currently, and in this particular case, I've got the Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. Now, the Community Edition is completely free. You don't need to go pay for it or anything. You can go download it right now, so all of this tutorial can be followed for absolutely free. I really am trying to not charge for IDEs or anything like that, so go ahead and install it. When you're installing it, make sure you install all of the features. Just kind of useful to have. The big ones you definitely want to have are like Python, C#, C++, and some others. And you can go through this video first and go back and see, okay, then, you know, I need all of this. I'm not really going to spend too much time on installing it. And when you get here, you'll see that this is kind of your default screen, depending on your theme, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and do a new project. And what we need to do, and by default you'll probably show up here in the C# area, but we actually don't want that. What we actually want is we want to start out, because we're doing multiple projects in one. Again, we're going through 6 languages, so we want to have a project that can handle each language. It's very, very difficult to mix multiple languages into a single project, and so I feel like in this case it'll be best to do it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here to Other Project Types, Visual Studio Solutions, Blank Solution. Now, basically, when you're doing a product, you're going out there and you're making this program for people to use. Generally, these are what's called a solution. These are projects, and then these are all part of an overall solution. So to give you an example, if you're making a video game and you have your actual game client, server to host, a database or something for logging in, and your level editor, that would be an example of where you would probably want 2 or 3 projects to be a part of that program. But, your level editor might be C#, but your game might be C++. So being able to handle multiple projects in a single solution, in a single product, is actually very useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this solution, and I'm going to name it Multi-Language Visual Studio Template. Bit of a long name, but basically this will be a template that you'll be able to use in future videos as well when we're going through and doing algorithms and stuff with it. And of course it'll all be on GitHub, as you can see there. You can just check the link below to see the video, or see the source code. So we'll go there. And now that we are here, you'll notice that there's no projects in here. So this is actually the first thing we need to do, is we need to actually come in and add our projects. So again, the languages we're going to be using are C, C++, C#, Java, JavaScript, and Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work my way backwards there. I'm going to start with the most natural language, which, closest to English and stuff like that, closest to a written language, which in this case is going to be Python. So we're going to come here, we're going to do Add New Project. And again, it'll probably start out there. What we actually want to do is come down to Python. And by default, if you don't install the Python tools, it's going to prompt you with like download the Python tools or Python extensions in here. And just go ahead and do that. That's exactly what I did. It works pretty well. And then we're going to go here and click on Python application once you have that. And I'm just going to name this Python project. and then we'll go ahead and press enter for OK. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and do our little hello world, which in this case will be hello world from Python. And if we go ahead and run this, we can go ahead and see that it is all set to go right over here. So that's our Python project. So again, all of your Python examples will go into here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the next level, which in this case will be JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is a little bit different. JavaScript technically runs in a web browser. It's interpreted, so we need a way to interpret it. And Visual Studio doesn't actually have that built in. But what we can go ahead and do is if we come over here to Add New Project, we can come up here to Visual C#, and if we expand this down, we'll see Web. Now, these ASP.NET web applications are just websites. So what we can do is we can create an HTML document, some JavaScript, and we can just write out all of our information to the web page using this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to name this JavaScript project. We'll go ahead and add it. As soon as you click OK, you'll get this screen. By default, this box here might be checked. Make sure it's not checked, and then come here to empty project, or empty ASP.NET template. So once you're there, click OK, and it'll go through and actually create the project. And all done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come into here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our JavaScript file. Now this I'm just going to leave as javascript.js. Go ahead and press enter, JavaScript. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make a simple main method. And all it's going to do is it's going to write out to the web page. In this case, it'll just be a web page that it's writing to. Basically, what this is doing is it is basically just drawing text to the screen or to the web page when you go to it. So we're going to write out hello world from JavaScript, and you're all done. And remember, for those who don't know, JavaScript technically doesn't need semicolons at the end. So now what we're going to do is we need to actually add a web page to display that on. So we're going to come here to HTML page. We're going to just leave that at HTML page 1. Come here, and now we need to include our JavaScript file. So we're going to do script, and we're going to do source equals, and our JavaScript file right there. And then we're going to come down one more line, and we're going to actually use that code in here. So to do that, all we have to do is main right there, and we're done. So this is all our code is, so let's go ahead and run it. So the first thing to notice is right now our main project is actually still the Python project. So what we actually need to do is come here and do set as startup project. You can also, of course, just come here and do debug and start new instance, but I prefer to do it this way. The next big thing to realize is that it is going to go ahead and have us use a web browser. You can really use any of these. They all don't really matter in this case because all the JavaScript we're doing is pretty basic. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with Chrome in this case. And we will go ahead, actually, let's go ahead and give Microsoft Edge a little test run. So we go ahead and we do that, and then we do start. And as we go ahead and we run that, it's going to open up a new Internet Explorer page. And uh-oh, it's forbidden. So the reason for this is that our URL is not wrong. We are basically trying to list out the source in that directory. Basically, because we're going to this root page, we're actually looking at all of the files in there rather than the one we want. In this case, the file we want is HTML page 1. So if you ever see that error, that's why. So, and all you have to do is do HTML page, and then it's right 1.html. And there's our hello world. Alternatively, if you guys are working with this and you don't want to have to deal with that, you can just make sure that you're highlighted on the page you want to view, and as soon as you start it, it'll go ahead and automatically bring you there. So there's our simple JavaScript demo. That's all done with. So now that we've got those two done, we're going to go on to the next level, which in this case is going to be Java. Now, this is actually the tricky part. Java is not actually supported in Visual Studio at all. There are some libraries you can download for it, but I don't really want to do anything that's not officially supported. So what we are going to do is we're going to actually create our own custom build project. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a new project, but this time go ahead and go to Visual C++, and then go down to General. Now you'll notice this makefile project. This is actually what we're going to want. Basically what this is it lets us go and declare our own custom build commands and such within Visual Studio. So what we can do is we can tell it to build using JavaScript, or using the Java compiler. So we're going to go ahead and click OK, go to Next. And in this case what we want to do is do javac star.java. Basically what this says is to use Java compile star.java. Now you may need to adjust your path variables in order to use Java. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but you need to make sure that from the command line that you can run javac. So we'll go ahead and bring up the command line so you can see what I mean. And right here, if you do javac, you'll notice it runs perfectly. Same with the command java. So both of those need to be accessible in order to do so. So the clean commands you don't need to really worry about unless you want to remove the Java class files that are generated, but we're not going to really worry about that. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Next, and finish. And again, make sure that you set it as the default project, or set it as the start project. Now, this is where things get a little trickier. So the big thing is that Java programs don't compile into a nice and simple executable file. They actually compile into Java classes. So what we actually need to do is we need to go through into the project and we need to create a batch file that will actually be able to run it. Now the big thing with this is you have to know which class you're going to be running. In most cases I'm actually just going to be running a file that is we're going to name it run.bat, and basically the file that we're going to be running in this case, most of the cases with these, is a main class program. So the first thing we're going to do is turn @echo off, basically so that it doesn't go through and echo a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff. Then we're going to come here and we're going to do Java main class. Again, this is the name of your program that you're trying to run, the file. Then once that's done, we're going to pause it for a few seconds just so we can see the output. So go ahead now and close that, and we should be all set to go. Now what we want to do is do run.bat. And there you go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new item, and we're just going to name it mainClass.java. And we're going to go ahead and do class main class, and then we're going to do public static void main string in uppercase S args. And then what we're going to do is come down here and we're going to do system.out.println hello world from Java. And we're all set to go. So now let's go ahead and do Windows Local Debugger. And you're going to get this beautiful error, could not find or load main class. Now, this is a very specific error. This basically is telling us that it can't load that main class we just created. And the reason why is if we come in here, we'll notice that we haven't actually compiled it yet. And the reason for this is that Visual Studio, maybe it's this version specifically, maybe not. I haven't tried this in previous versions, and I don't really intend to right now. But I believe that the cause of this is due to the fact that our project is not building it when we go ahead and we start debugging immediately. A quick fix for this is you just come here and you right click it and click build. Now if we go through and we run this, again by clicking on this, we'll get our hello world from Java. Now another option in this case is to come here to tools, go to options, and if we come down here to debugging, or sorry, not debugging, where was that? Projects and solutions, build and run. You'll notice that on run when projects are out of date is the only time we prompt to build, or run when build or deployment issue occurs, prompt to launch. Now, this is basically, this is where I believe the problem is. I haven't really had time to test it out, but you can play around with the settings and try and enable it automatically from there. I'm not going to do so. I'm not too concerned. But again, you just want to make sure that anytime you're doing something, new changes to your project, that you click this build button. And that'll go through and do it, and then when you come here, you'll be able to run it. So that's our Java project. Now let's go up to the next level, which in this case is C#. So again, come here, click Add, New Project. This is pretty basic. We're going to come here to Visual C#. We're going to do Console Application. We're going to do C# project. And in this case, we can't do that because of the file name. So I'm just going to name it C# project. Now that we've got that, we'll go ahead and do console.writeLine hello world from C#. And we'll go ahead again, set this as our main startup project. Go ahead and run it. And it vanishes instantly. A quick fix for this, hold down Control and press F5, and it'll go through and do exactly what it did before. Hello world from C#. Pretty simple, all built into Visual Studio here. So we'll go ahead and close that, and next we will go up again to C++ this time. So C++ and C are pretty much the exact same methods of setting up. You come down here to Visual C++, you choose Empty Project. In this case, we'll choose C++ Project, because again, we can't have the plus signs there. We'll go through and do right-click, Add New Item, and we'll add this as main, and then we will include stdlib and include iostream. And actually, technically we don't need that, but we'll go ahead and keep that. And then we will do int main, and we'll go ahead and add the r's, int rgc, and then car times argv. And we'll return 0 here, and then we will do std cout hello world from C++. If we go ahead and set this as our main project, and we hold down Control F5, we'll get that right there. So again, this is kind of a similar issue. You'll notice that we have to build it first, again. So we'll go through and build it, and now that we built it, we can actually run it. So we'll go ahead and hold Control F5, and you'll notice that it goes away instantly. Now again, this seems to be new to all of these empty projects and stuff. I'm not really sure if this is a bug from Microsoft or not. But again, we can't really do that because it's not set up for that. So what I'm going to do, and again, don't ever do this, it's not going to end. We're going to just add a wall 1, and uh-oh, that needs to be rebuilt. This is, again, the big thing. I'm surprised that this is an issue in this new version of Visual Studio, but you have to rebuild like that every time. So, and there's our C++ demo. Now, going up one more time again, we're going to go up to C. And this is the exact same setup process. You come here, empty project for C++, C project. And again, we're just going to come through and add that. And then we're going to do add new item, and this time we're just going to name it main.c. And again, we'll right click, set as startup, and in this case we actually want to include stdio.h. Our main, we're just going to do the exact same thing, and then times argv, return 0, and instead of cout, we're going to use the printf command, where we're going to do hello world from C. And now that that's done, we'll go ahead and we will build the project. And again, we're going to need that wall 1 in order to make sure that it doesn't just vanish instantly. Build it, run it, and here is our hello world from C. So this is how you can go through and get a project in every single language in Visual Studio. That way, when we go through and we do these future tutorials, you'll be able to keep track of it all. Whoops, that is not what I wanted. GIMP is about to open up. I apologize for that. So this is how you can go through and get multiple projects set up in Visual Studio. It's a pretty straightforward process, and you can use this template from this point on. Feel free to go to GitHub and download it all from there. And once you download it, we'll go on next week and we will go over how to actually start doing some of these neat algorithms. So hope to see you guys next Friday for the next video. Still deciding on what algorithm, so it'll be a surprise. But feel free to submit any comments, questions, or anything else you have below. And yeah, see you guys later.